What's up guys, it's Aaronitmar. Today we're going to be talking about Masahiro Sakurai's final Famitsu Column before Smash Ultimate is released. Speaking of which, the number of days until Smash Ultimate is released has now hit single digits, so we really are in the final countdown here. But let's go ahead and jump into the column that Sakurai has written. First, Sakurai talks about a Japanese television show called Game Center CX. Evidently, this show is doing a spotlight or a few episodes on Super Smash Bros., so Sakurai went there while they were filming in order to sort of just experience it in person. He says he's actually a huge fan of Game Center CX, and so the fact that they were talking about Smash just thrilled him. Next, he moves on to discuss the main theme. He says for each Smash game, he struggles with the main theme, but this time, in order to surpass all of the themes before, he knew that this one had to have lyrics. Or rather, he just knew that he couldn't do the exact same thing that he had done in past games, and so he finally settled on having the song have lyrics in order to mix it up. And then he talks about who they got to sing the song, which is a Japanese vocalist, Erina Koga, and she's actually only 17 years old, which actually really blows my mind. Obviously, this doesn't apply to the English version, but I've heard the Japanese version as well, and so it's very impressive that a 17-year-old amateur was able to do that. I'm not being insulting, he literally calls her a 17-year-old amateur. She was actually featured in a singing contest on Japanese television, and he knew that once he heard her voice that she was the one to sing the song. And then of course he compliments her saying that she handled the song beautifully, and he's very much looking forward to her future career. Next he moves on to discussing World of Light and its story. He says that there couldn't be a story if every single fighter died, so one had to live, and of course he chose Kirby. Now he says, why did I choose Kirby? And then he does a little quote and says, well, it must be because you created the Kirby series, Sakurai. And he says that that actually wasn't the case. He says that it actually came from a place of game design and the process of elimination to choose Kirby in the end. When writing the story, they said that the character that survived needed an actual, solid, convincing, logical reason for why they weren't killed by Galeem. So all fighters possessing normal abilities like Mario or Link or Samus, they were all immediately disqualified because they simply couldn't outrun that kind of light beam. Because Galeem's attack went to the ends of the galaxy, only a vehicle that could defy the laws of physics would properly work. And of course, Kirby's Warp Star has been able to warp away since his very first game, so that alone made him a very, very high contender in that list. He said that there were only two other fighters that could possibly have survived, and that would have been either Bayonetta or Palutena. But in Bayonetta's case, her enemies from Purgatorio were also turned into spirits, which means that even if she went to that other world, she wouldn't have been able to survive because everyone there also was turned into a spirit. The same thing goes for Palutena. Other divine beings like her, like Hades, were also turned into spirits. So even if she teleported away to wherever she goes, there's no way that she could have survived either. So Kirby was the easy choice because he could easily warp away and no other character would exist wherever he warped to, which turned into a spirit. He also says from an actual gameplay perspective, it would have been difficult for Bayonetta or Palutena to be the starting character. They aren't really characters that you can pick up easily and play right away. The first character would have to be someone who was simple and easy to use. And so of course they had no other choice than Kirby. Kirby was designed as a very, very easy character, and so it just makes sense from all angles for Kirby to be the very first character in World of Light. It just happens to be a coincidence that he is Sakurai's creation. He then says that apparently if you read World of Light backwards in Japanese, it reads Kirby of the Stars. I'm about to butcher Japanese, so please don't get offended, but apparently World of Light in Japanese is Tomoshibi Bika no Hoshi, and if you read it backwards, you get Hoshi no Kabi, which is Kirby of the Stars. But apparently that's just a coincidence. He noticed that this was the case, but it's not like he set out to write a story about Kirby, so it's not really any kind of indicator, it's just kind of a coincidence. And then he says, feel free to switch to a different fighter whenever you see fit. And with 74 fighters to choose from, you're going to be able to switch very, very quickly. He also mentions that when you boot up Smash Ultimate for the first time, the player will receive one advanced spirit, and it's all basically random, so seeing which one you get is very, very much part of the fun of spirits. And finally, he mentions that there will be a day one patch on launch day. Anyone who purchased the digital version will not need to worry because they will presumably be downloading the patched version, but anyone who purchased the physical version should apply the day one patch before they play. It will make sure they can play online. It will make sure that their replays will work properly because things will change and they won't exactly work the same way. And then he gives a tip that you can save your replays as an actual video, so it's basically like a screen recording of the actual game, rather than the way the Smash replays work, in that they are just a file filled with button combinations in the correct order. So if a patch is on its way, you can actually record the video of the gameplay from a previous patch, and it will actually be a video rather than just that series of button combinations. That way you can still watch it and it won't break once the new patch comes. And I actually didn't know that you could save replays as actual videos this time. Maybe that was something that I glossed over in one of the directs, but I actually didn't know that. So that's really, really cool for people who don't have capture cards or things like that, that they can actually save their replays after the fact. Smash for Wii U didn't have that functionality, and neither did Smash Brawl or 3DS. So that's very, very cool, and I'm personally pretty happy that they are, being so exhaustive with all kinds of different features in this game. But that is the end of Sakurai's column. That's everything he talked about. It actually was a bit shorter than normal, in my opinion. He didn't actually talk about a ton gameplay-wise, which is pretty interesting because I don't think he's actually done an article in Famitsu about the last few fighters that they talked about. Normally with Famitsu, they'll talk about the most recent direct whenever he does a column. But this time he didn't actually talk, about Incineroar or Piranha Plant or Ken or anything like that. Maybe it's because he's done it in other interviews, so he thought maybe he didn't need to. But I actually thought this one was pretty interesting because he didn't talk about those fighters at all. All he did was talk about basically World of Light and all things regarding that, aside from the day one patch and the Smashing Life, because even when he talked about the main theme, that actually is still part of World of Light, technically, because that's when we saw and heard about. We saw World of Light's trailer at the same time as hearing the lyric version of the theme song for the very first time, so that's still kind of related. But other than the TV show and the day one patch, everything was pretty much about World of Light. So he's really building this up to be very, very exciting. And personally, I just can't wait to play it. But yeah, that is everything for this video. If you guys enjoyed it, be sure to hit the like button. If you're new, be sure to subscribe. If you'd like to read all of this for yourself, I will link in the description the link to SourceGaming. Big shout outs to them for constantly translating anything that Sakurai says in any kind of medium. It's pretty crazy how quickly they get their translations up, but they do awesome work, so I highly recommend checking them out, following them on Twitter or Facebook or whatever. But that's it for this video. Thank you for watching. Peace out, and I hope you have an awesome day.